Hi everyone, Josh Hughes here from Team Kaizen. Got a pretty cool experience over this past week. It was Montana State Fair in town, and on top of the carnival that normally comes here, there's also a separate group that comes with ejection seat and a KMG Speed. They're called Armstrong Amusements, and I got to talk with them because I'm a huge nut for KMG. For those of you who don't know, they're a group out of Holland that build custom rides like Speed, and they're just an insanely talented company. And so it's really cool that every year I get to ride one of their creations. And it just so happened that that same week, we were asked to be at one of the booths for a local college at the fair, showing off Little Big Planet Club and how games like Little Big Planet can show off engineering and programming. So we recreated Speed and showed it off at the booth. And I showed the people who own the real life Speed the video of what we did, and they were really cool about it. They thought it was awesome, and throughout the week they would have situations where they might have to swap out a part or swap out a light. So they'd take the ride down to do that, and while they were swapping out parts, they were talking to me about the engineering about the ride, showing me how it lays flat on a trailer, which they flat out told us we had it really close already. But it was really cool because the more they talked to us, the more I realized the few steps we could take to change our Little Big Planet Speed so that it actually more closely lined up with the real life attraction. So this is my final build of it. I'm really proud of it, and I'll set it up for you in a second. But just like the real life Speed, the actual boom actually comes over the truck. It's really crazy how this 136-foot tall thing folds down onto a single trailer. And of course you can drive it when it's in trailer mode, honk the horn. And when it's in trailer mode, you only see one dog box, which the real life one only has one dog box, but you'll see why I have a second one here in a minute. But when you hit the button in the dog box, it sets up. Now, the second dog box, if you hit the button, it will swap the seats. And while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and pause and show some of the features of it. So it got two seats, and the ride is capable of putting itself away regardless of which seat is in the bottom. And I used Slick Chassis as a substitute for lights. The reason I did that is Slick Chassis, you could still wire it up and have it change colors and flicker and all that. But there's a little over, just shy of 500 little Slick Chassis dots like this all over the ride to give it the look of lights. And if I had to put actual lights on the ride instead, that would take way more than a fourth of the thermometer. Another fun thing is you see this. I put this Little Big Planet plaque here. Sorry for chewing on my words. On the real life Speed, there's an actual plaque from KMG there, so it's kind of cool that we were able to hide an Easter egg there and kind of Little Big Planetify it. We had the actual curtain that comes down. Like when it's in trailer mode, these two pieces pull up so you can see the wheels. So let that finish. Loading there. And I'll put it back to the other one for no specific reason other than I have a slight OCD obsession with having the middle logo right side up. And of course the middle piece lifts up. The real life one has a pair of stairs that swing out from the side, but for the sake of ease of build for the player to drive this around, I figured that this would be an easier way to do it. Another thing I'm a little proud of is, if you see here, there's these invisible pieces of cardboard mounted on the ride. The reason I did that is because, for those of you who play Little Big Planet already know this, but when Sackboy goes inside of a controlinator like that, when he gets inside that control seat, according to the game's physics, he loses all weight, force, all of that, and the only weight that he has is whatever he's attached to, so in this case, the seat. So, like, it doesn't matter if you have one player sitting here and two sitting on this side, this thing would still be considered symmetrically the same weight. So I set up a system here where it actually will add the player's weight, because Sackboy weighs a unit of one in Little Big Planet, and I actually did a little bit more than one just so that it would give it a little more obvious pull. But if you have one Sackboy sitting on this side and two on this side, this side will weigh twice as much as this one. So that way you actually get the realistic tilting of the seat, because actually in real life, like who sits where on those seats dramatic, and how many people you have sitting in there dramatically impacts the ride experience. My personal favorite is to ride alone on one side and have two people to your back. And so to simulate that, let's go ahead and grab two of our Sackbots over here that I've okayed to be in a controlinator seat. And I'll hop on and we'll ride this thing. As you saw, I was already tilting towards their side because the two of them weigh more than me. And there we're slowing down. So let me get these Sackbots out of here real quick. So I'll go into create mode now, show you some of the complexity that's going on here. So this is the main ride circuit board. It's actually mounted right behind the central speed sign. And you'll see that everything, I mean, if you can kind of get a glimpse of it, everything is kind of mirrored. Like, so for instance, you have this row of gyroscopes pointing up, and then you have an opposite row pointing down. And you have one row of rotators and gyroscopes for this way, then another row that's that way. The whole reason I have two of everything like that is it's all dependent on which of those two arms is in the loading bay. So if I was to hit the button and flip the button, it would swap to the other side of the circuit board. So instead of these gyroscopes being active, these ones would become active. And that was kind of one of the fun challenges and why it took me a year and like 4 or 5 revisions of speed to build it to get a realistic movement, because the ride actually acts very similarly regardless of which seats in the loading bay. So they both stop perfectly sideways, both go the clockwise and counterclockwise for roughly the same amount of time, and both end with you starting to slow down here and then get gently lowered back into the loading dock. And so to get that to work for 2 different arms was actually a fun but really crazy challenge. Now, if you want to see some hardcore insanity, only some of the lights, like basically just the actual letters of speed, are controlled from that circuit board. Otherwise, every other light, basically just shy, like I said, just shy of 500 of them, are controlled from this monster. Circuit board that's taller than the ride itself. And I didn't make it that way. Like, it's just that, and again, people who play LittleBigPlanet know this, but you start off with a circuit board like that small, but every single time you wire it to something new, it increases the size of the circuit board. So by the time we got 500 lights wired up, you get this. It's definitely one of the most intense builds I've ever done, just because, like I said, it took a year and several revisions to get it right. The only thing that came close probably for me was building the zipper, which was 16 revisions over the course of 2 years, but that is technically a lot harder build to do. But yeah, this is my KMG Speed.